you said you were going to leave and go do it.
Okay, so I just like to hear, just kind of getting back started here. I'm only like 5 or 10 minutes behind, so that's really good for me. But I just like to hear what you guys think so far. What do you guys think about what we're talking about? Does it make sense? Is anybody learning anything new? Agree, disagree? What are your thoughts so far?
I'm only speaking about other people's centers, not ours. But from my experience, I think it's so easy in our field to get caught up in behavior management.
Absolutely.
And classroom management and redirection and guidance strategies. And, you know, this is a topic that we come to occasionally, but it's refreshing to come back and think about relationships and even giving empathy to the biter, the hitter,
right.
The child that is taking 80% of our energy
right.
over the last hour, and thinking, wait, maybe we should start giving them empathy first
right.
before the victim.
Right.
And it's a challenging line of thinking, but obviously the results are there, the proof is there, and our hearts are there, maybe not in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just,
So I think it's a great challenge for us, or for other centers that are doing that.
Right. Yeah, because what we want is that child not to take up so much of our time, right? And so again, we want to go back to what works. We want to do what works. If addressing that child from a standpoint of redirection and yelling at them and consequences isn't working, ultimately it's going to make my life easier if I find out what works, right? And if I can get that child back in a growth and a learning process to address whatever their need is, then they're going to start growing and they're going to take up less of my time in the long run. Yeah.
I think the other tricky piece of that too is starting off your day. You know, we all start off so strong, but so much of that for 20-something kids all day long. I don't think that you tend to finish as strong as you started
right.
with all of what we've been learning and talking
Absolutely.
about.
So it's all ideal, right? But again, going back to that, it's not your fault because none of us are perfect. We're not always going to have perfect responses, and you get another chance tomorrow to do something you didn't like, better, right? And that's where I think it's really fun to work as a team, because I like to be able to talk with my team member about, hey, how do you think today went? Like, was there something we could have done better? I really wanted to work on this skill today. How do you think we did with that? And then work in that growth process. And as long as we're in that growth process, does somebody need interest? As long as we're in that growth process, our classrooms are going to be in that growth process, for sure.
I have heard so many times, starting when I was in the first grade, she just wants attention. And the response to that is, well, you just want attention, you're trying to take things away from other people, so we're not going to give you anything. But what you need to know is the child needs attention.
Yeah, very good.
And the more you give them what they need, the less they'll
very good.
demand it.
So again, it's looking at what works, not what we've been taught. Maybe our parents taught us, you do something bad, you should be punished. But is that really working? Is that making our lives easier? Is it making us enjoy our jobs more? Is that helping our children grow? Good. Great, so I'm going to actually skip through I'm just going to summarize this real quickly because we're going to talk about it again. So this is the idea that if children learn from reflection, they're learning about the world from us, that we want to use that to describe things back to children. So children really thrive on us describing things to them. A lot of times in classrooms we do a lot of good job, like you did that, good job. And that's okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But if we can even just take away the good job and just start describing to them what they're doing. So when we see something we like, instead of saying, great job, we just say, hey, I see you, putting your pencil in front of you, and I see you putting both hands on the table, and I see your eyes looking at me. That's actually more powerful than saying good job. Does that make sense? Or if I see the child cleaning up, instead of saying, great job, you cleaned up, I can just start describing. I see you putting the blue blue ball in the box. I see you putting the green ball in the box. Oh, the red ball like made a loud noise. Oh, that ball's bouncing across the floor. And I just kind of describe what's happening, and that's very, very reinforcing for children because they learn about the world through us. So they need us to do that. Does that make sense? That's why children love reading so much, because when we're reading, we're describing things to them. So we need to take that and use that in other places. I call this the watch me phenomenon, because if you guys notice, anybody who has kids, if you're at a place where there's a lot of parents sitting around watching kids play, what are kids doing? What are they yelling at their parents?
Look,
Yeah, look at me, Mom, look at me, watch me. And kids need us to watch them. They need that, and we can really give that to kids by just describing what we see. And then this is really important, so children don't develop an internal voice to use for self-calming until they're 7 or 8. So imagine that the words we use in stressful situations are going to become that internal voice for that child. So really think about that. That's pretty powerful to think that our words and our voice and our response is going to start being inside of that child's head. So this is my little physiology lesson. I wanted to include a bunch of physiology, and then because I just want to include everything, so it gets way too long. So we'll keep it really short. So basically, just talking about the brain, this is the limbic system right here. So this is basically kind of the emotional center. This is the brain stem. So this is just kind of our base responses, like our instinct. And then this is what we call the frontal lobe, which is where more thought process comes in. Does that make sense? So a couple of things that I think are really important to know about this. Basically, we want to start getting all of these functions working together, right? If we have a child who's operating just on the limbic system and the brainstem, what are we going to see? What would we see if a child is just operating in these two centers?
A lot of just reacting.
Yeah, reactive. Right, that's the meltdown right there, right? It's the ah! That's when they're just kind of operating in this mode. They're not using this part of their brain. They may be acting more like animals, more like wild things, right? So this is when they're just running around, acting crazy, is because they're just operating in these two systems. They're not connected to this larger system. So what do we see with attachment? One thing is called limbic resonance. And what we know is that people's limbic systems resonate with each other, and they tend to resonate with the most important person in the room, which is whoever the authority figure is. So I have the great opportunity of setting the tone for this training by making sure that I'm calm and grounded and having self-awareness about myself. And that helps you guys stay calm and in a phase where you can learn. Basically, at your center, the person who sets the tone for the entire center is who? Who gets to set the tone for the center? The teacher does for the classroom, but who sets it for the center? Yeah, we point at Kurt. The director. The director does. So, and that's a tough thing for directors, because I've been a director, not a director of a childcare center, but I've been a director before. And you have a lot of things in your mind if you're a director. You're going in a million different directions.